Thanks for your submissions. There's still time to send over a room if you're feeling stuck, and I'll show you what would Brett do on a future episode. So let's jump right in. Question: how does one approach design? If I wanted to give my home a facelift, how and where do I start? Sometimes design can feel like a never-ending list of do's, and we're all scared of the don'ts. There are many little facets of design that make a house end up feeling like a home. So let's get to it. It goes without saying, so this one I will give you for free. Let me hear you say, Marie Kondo! Start by cleaning out the clutter and get rid of the items that do not spark joy. Moving on to number 1. Ask yourself, how do you use this space? I always start my projects with a long questionnaire that says things like, are you entertainers? Are you stay at home and watch TV people? Do you have pets, kids? Are you spillers? Do you like color? What colors do you hate? And I really enjoy hate questions more. You learn more from those. The more questions you can ask yourselves, the better. You'll get really specific on how you want the function of the space to be. Number 2, what is the space used for? In New York, rooms are often mixed-use spaces. For example, guest rooms that double as an office. Is your living room maybe a dining room and a library and your bar and maybe a kids play area, a guest room and a gym? This starts to dictate the pieces of furniture that double up and where you want to make really smart choices on what's needed. Mainly that goes with storage and with seating and types of tables used. The more specific you can get, the more specific the pieces of furniture are, and then you don't have a bunch of things you don't need cluttering the space. Number 3, and this is where it starts to get fun. Figure out your space's story. You want it to tell something. Is it based on your found objects collected from your travels? Is it a color story because you love the color blue? Is it centered around your grandfather's leather chair? Is it based on nubby neutral fabrics and texture because you just love it? Keep it simple. Once you have that story, I solidify it with a mood and concept board, which will start to help dictate what those furniture and object pieces start to look like. These days, it's really easy to start a Pinterest board to gather your thoughts and to see if you have a common thread of likes. It doesn't mean just interiors. It could be fashion, landscapes, objects you like, places to travel, cars. You start to see a common thread of mood, color, style. And then from there, start that mood and concept board. Pull a few images in on a page. For example, I have a client, I created a mood board on 3 images. The first, a very artistic picture of a sheep, a piece of wood cut so you can see its rings, and an image of an exterior landscape at sunrise on a cold winter morning. Very specific. And I never use an interior as an example. This exercise portrays the mood, the color story, and all the design elements I want to have in the space. In this case, natural woods, natural fibers, texture, that specific green with a hint of frost on a cold morning, and that specific orange when the sun starts to rise in winter, right? Very, very specific. It also keeps you focused and coming back to your story. There are a lot of choices out there. So as you start to narrow everything down, say with an armchair, for example, you can ask yourself, does it fit within my story? Number 4, measure the space. Start your design with the correct proportions. If it's a small room, it doesn't necessarily mean small furniture. It might mean a lower back sofa, so it doesn't take up space visually, but it doesn't necessarily mean a smaller sofa. If a larger sofa is better than a few smaller chairs because perhaps you like to entertain, then that works best. And if it's a larger space, you're not going to put low furniture. You might want more generous pieces, larger pieces, wider, generous size armchairs. But in both scenarios, play with proportion. You don't just want all large and all small. Playing with sizing allows your eye to travel the room. But no matter what, it should always be comfortable. Granted, there are key pieces that, look amazing and perhaps they're not to sit on, but you want to make sure it's balanced out with a lot of other great pieces. And you want to feel balanced and not crammed. We often use programs, 3D programs, AutoCAD, but I always go to site with my trusty blue tape and tape out the furniture and just sit and be in the room, imagining these pieces there. Every once in a while, we'll find a size needs to be changed or a position needs to be shifted, but you can only do so much on paper. Number 5, sightlines. What does that mean? Well, what else is in that room? Stand in the room, open all the doors, and slowly turn around and see what you look at. Do you peek into a hallway? Do you peek into another bedroom? You want to make sure your story flows into those spaces as well, and that the color stories between the rooms are cohesive and that everything blends together. Because if you can see a part of a wall in another room, sitting on a sofa or maybe a piece of furniture, that still counts to me as part of that room. Number 6, there's 2 ways I like to start when approaching sourcing pieces of furniture. The first is often with the biggest biggest piece of the room to start the story and build from there. So in a lot of cases, that's actually the rug. For example, if you have a colorful Persian rug, perhaps you go neutral with your sofa or leather on the chairs and pull a tone out on the carpet for the walls. But the same idea and concept goes for neutral carpets as well. The second way is if a client comes to the table with a piece of art or a piece of furniture that is truly unique, maybe it's colorful, maybe it's just a plain piece, but they really love it. And I start to design around those pieces as well. Number 7, it's a lot this time. And I think number 7 is the most important one, but you'll have to tune in next time because that one's a whole lesson in and of itself. Feeling stuck and need some advice? While we're both stuck at home, we're offering an in-home face-to-face consultation. So submit below if that's something you're interested in. See you next time.